Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Daily AI Show. Today is December 1st, 2025. I'm Brian. I'm joined by Beth, and we also have Andy coming in the door here in just a second. We'll see if Karl's here as well today. There's Andy. How are you? Yeah, welcome. Hopefully, everybody had a wonderful in the States. If you had a break, everybody had a wonderful break, and you're ready for the last push of the last month of 2025. And if history serves us, as it typically has in AI, this will be an even busier with AI. If it's like the previous last two Decembers within the AI world. Now that's kind of crazy considering just how much has come out in November. So we will
Right.
have to see. We've talked about that a lot. Like, what are the predictions? What are the things coming into the end of the month as we wrap up 2025? Also, we're going to be talking about this a little bit more today, but yesterday was the official 3-year anniversary or birthday, however you want to say it, of ChatGPT's sort of public release. And I always like to put the asterisks on there. Yes, ChatGPT existed prior to November 30th, 2022. We are referring to the day that it sort of went open to the public. And it's November 30th, 2022 is typically the day where people say, hey, that's when ChatGPT sort of entered the world. And I think it was what, 3 or 3.5, right, guys? That came out.
Yes. Yeah.
Was it 3?
I thought it was 3.5, but
It
you're
might have been 3.5. Yeah. By the way, Dolly 2 had come out several
yes.
days before that. Actually, Dolly was prior to ChatGPT, so there was like this sort of 1-2 punch back there. We'll get into that more in the rest of the show, but just want to kind of tell you what is going on today. With that said, I think we can jump into maybe some of the news that's come up over the weekend and talk about those, and then we'll have a larger discussion about ChatGPT and where we've come in the last 3 years or so. So, Beth or Andy, do you guys have a particular news story that you want to kick things off with?
So over the weekend, this news story comes from Karl in the ghost that he is right now, but he posted on our private Slack. But over the weekend, DeepSeek launched 3 different models. I think all reasoning first built for agents. So DeepSeek version 3.2 and DeepSeek version 3.2 Special. I'm saying that that's how you would pronounce that word. So they're reasoning first models built for agents. 3.2 is the official successor to the experimental model of the same version that was released earlier. It's live on the app, web, and API. I'm sure you can play with it on OpenRouter if you want. And Special is API only for now, and that is I don't see more information about what that is. What makes it special or special? So I think in terms of what you're saying, Brian, DeepSeek has thrown the first gauntlet,
Yeah.
topped that in the December death match, or
Which
who will
was
be the last model standing?
Yeah, I know, right? It's like battle bots. They're all in the ring together, or mech wars or something like that. They were not as early last December, right? They were closer to Christmas, if I remember right, when they DeepSeek R1, correct?
Right.
And now people kind of lost their minds and said that that OpenAI was over, and there's a lot of a lot of stuff on that. Sorry, I'm a little under the weather today, guys. I apologize. I'll try to go on mute if I start coughing or anything. Um, yeah. So that's yeah, they thrown down the gauntlet for like we're first in December, which is impressive too because they're halfway around the world from in China. So they had a leap on the East Coast and most time zones in the States as far as what they delivered.
And I think
Andy,
clearly
oh,
they
sorry, okay,
didn't take from Wednesday off, right? So, because it's not a holiday over there.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
like, it was just a day.
exactly.
And
You're on
Andy,
mute, Andy.
we can't hear you. All right.
You might, because you came in and out, Andy. You might have to go out and come back in to see if you can reset the mic. Hey, that reminds us, we're still dealing with the lovely issues with our stream
Can you hear
platform,
me
but
now?
Yes.
We can, yeah.
Wow.
And I was just going to say
Okay.
really quick before you jump in, Andy, we have decided to move back to our original streaming platform here in the next few days. And so as much as it's fun and people like the after shows and stuff like that, we'd like to think of ourselves as a professional daily show and podcast after doing this almost 3 years. So we will hopefully have the technical issues cleaned up here very, very soon. Okay, that's neither here nor there. It's like that's a meta news, but not the company Meta, but daily AI show. See, I can't talk today. I told you I'm under the weather. Daily AI show, AI news about the show. There you go. All right, Andy, what do you got?
Yeah, so I want to talk about DeepSeek and in general, the Chinese open source models. So DeepSeek is open source, open weights. That means that anybody here in Silicon Valley who's building a startup can use this all at parity, highly capable, very comparable to frontier models for basically for free, for the cost of hosting it themselves in their own infrastructure and running those models. And so there's a game at play here that goes beyond who has the smartest reasoning model. The truth is here now that DeepSeek and also the Alibaba and the Quen models, the Moonshot, Kimi 2, all of these open source models that are coming out of China are really perfectly adequate to all of the application space that you might use these advanced reasoning models for. So, but that doesn't change the fact that Gemini 3.0 is still at the state of the art, right? It is measurably better than any one of the Chinese open source models, but it's so close now. DeepSeek came out with 3.2. And by the way, they also, last week, they released DeepSeek Math V2, which was important because there's this thing called the International Math Olympiad. And humans score around 80% on International Math Olympiad. I shouldn't say humans generally. I mean, the very greatest mathematicians score around there. And the model scored 118 out of 120 on the Putnam competition and solved 5 of the 6 International Math Olympiad problems for the 2025 exam, hitting the gold standard. So it's basically what's important about this is that it's as smart as any mathematician out there, pretty much. And it also developed, in order to get to that level, it generated a new model, an algorithmic model for solving math problems called a generator verifier system. And this is where one model proposes a proof to the math problem, and the other one critiques that, and it goes back and forth in a process like that in order to arrive at the correct conclusion. So it does that on a stepwise basis, meaning it's going to give it a confidence score at each step of the solution in the proofing process for a math problem. Now, that's indicative of the ways that reasoning advancements are happening now at a non-scalar level. Like, it's not that they're just giving it more examples and the large language model that's doing this kind of math work is just getting more and more experience. They have new methods of reasoning that are being applied algorithmically in order to get to that performance level. So takeaway, too long, don't read. It's basically Chinese open models are pretty much as good, for every practical purpose. And when I say open source, open weight, it means you don't have to pay on an ongoing basis as you do with all of the closed models that are at the state of the art, which is just, a small measurement ahead of where the Chinese open source models are. And they are achieving this without access to the very latest and greatest chips that are used in the training runs for the closed source models, because those are subject to an export embargo by our government.
Oh, you're on mute, Beth. I don't know. I saw you mouth wow. Yeah, she's like, "Yep, that's what I said." I wanted to bring up a quick story out of Perplexity, introducing AI assistants with memory. So this caught my eye mainly because Andy, you had been talking about memory and some different ways, novel ways that the companies are approaching it. So I dug into this a little bit, and honestly, I don't see anything that jumps off the page in terms of um, how they do memory. It looks very similar to how you would have memory in ChatGPT. However, I think they do make a good point towards the bottom, which is saying that one of the power moves of Perplexity is that they you're not stuck in ChatGPT land or Gemini land or Anthropic land for that matter. So when you have memory across all models that you're using inside of Perplexity. So if you're a power Perplexity user, then you might be doing some things where you choose to use Gemini, some for Claude, Sonnet or Opus, and you might do some with 5.1. So it doesn't matter because the memories sit on top of that. Now, when I look at it and I went and searched my own memories, as typical with mine, it's confusing a lot about the stuff that I do for clients. And so it's like Brian May living, well, I'll just pick a city, San Jose. I don't have a client there. In San Jose, and he likes such and such. I'm like, well, that was for a client. So my use cases are usually not so great for the memories, and I typically will turn them off because I find it to be worse than better. But it's something, and I didn't see anything novel about it, Andy, when I looked as far as how Perplexity is doing it, but I still see it as a value add to the Perplexity search feature. Because yes, if I was a runner and I often asked about I'm traveling, find me a good running trail, find me a good gym with a cork track, and I was doing that quite a bit using Perplexity, then yeah, of course I see value in if I said, hey, I'm looking for a new set of running shoes and I'm using the shopping feature and it knows enough to know about my running style and whether I'm long distance, short distance, or otherwise, I could see, certain value in that for sure.
I think that's right. That's the point, is that if you're going to use one of these models on a daily basis for something practical like shopping or, just general information retrieval, it's useful to have it accumulate memory about that so it understands the context and the areas of interest that you have. And that makes memory in Perplexity more important than memory inside Claude Opus 4.5 for me, because I don't want it to memorize everything that it's looking at in terms of the coding work that I'm doing with that, right? So Perplexity, I think, is a good example of where memory will be very useful. And I think for the 800 million weekly users now who are using ChatGPT, memory in ChatGPT is very useful because those 800 million users aren't doing complex work or multi-customer work like you are, Brian. They're doing it.
I would
They're
say
basically
more Karl. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Karl has been doing, like Karl, you've been saying how much I guess you would still say, right, the how much you like the memory from the pro side, right, of ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Because it comes in, it remembers stuff. And I haven't had that experience, but I do think it's probably because I'm just not on pro. I think you have a, not unique, you have a upgraded version of memory, which, you've had a lot of success with, and you talked about, Karl. I just don't see that on my side,
Yeah, I think like what makes that even like all come together is, and I've been talking about this for, is pulse, because of the memory. When you see pulse every day and you zero in on what you want, and if you ask it the right way. So for example, it's like different clients, and now we're incorporating more visual based tasks because of how Gemini enables that. So now in my pulse, I always ask, hey, give me potential visual based tasks that Gemini could do, based, and I just put this based on client work we've done in the past. And then because of all the work we do, it's pulling from that. And then like this morning it was, the that building materials department in this company, when you're talking about this, Gemini can now, have you thought of using Gemini for this? And then it just laid out like tasks. I was like, that's pretty cool to be able to remember this, take what I did, what I wanted to pull together, and give me a potential solution to what I was. And I didn't even ask it to do it; it just did it. So I thought that was kind of, yeah, it just ties everything together. I thought that was a
Yeah.
really neat way to do it.
I look forward to being able to use that more often in there. Although I will say, somebody else said this, I think in the chat last week, about Gemini, and yeah, man, I use Gemini over 50% of all AI prompting right now. Like it's crazy how much I use it. Also, I think that goes to show too that, we're all power users of AI, and how, there's things like Pulse, like for you, Karl, that like keep you tethered is in certain ways, in a good way, to like what ChatGPT has and stuff like that. But it does go to show like how quickly you can get used to a model that maybe you hadn't been using in a bit, in using it or whatever. Which is sort of I'll just throw this as a quick weave because it's a short story and I just never got to it last week. Did you guys ever talk about, not me building in Suno, but did you guys ever talk about Suno and Udio and how they're like partnering with major labels and stuff? Seems to be a trend.
Like weeks ago. Go for it.
Okay, well, so I think because Udio came out first with theirs and now Suno has. So let's see, blah, blah, blah. Today, I'm excited to say that Suno and Warner Music Group, WMG, have entered into a new partnership to bring our future vision of life. What this means, our partnership with WMG unlocks a bigger, richer Suno experience for you. We'll be rolling out new, more robust features for creation, opportunities to collaborate and interact with some of the most talented musicians in the world, all while continuing to build the biggest music ecosystem possible. And then it just says 3 points here. It says, together we'll ensure the partnership preserves the magic of Suno in a way you've come to love it with creating with it, creates exciting new ways for fans and artists to interact with music, introduces new opportunities for artists and songwriters to get paid. This is all very positive and in the right direction. I don't think really, if I'm being honest, I don't think Suno and Udio have much choice. This day of reckoning was probably coming for a while, but it's a good thing because I do see, we saw the earlier versions of like, hey, use my voice, and certain artists were definitely more pro AI. But this gives to me the opportunity of, if you have a band or an artist that you particularly love, or maybe just even a DJ or something like that, and now you have the ability to work with their music, and remix it, do fun things with it, put it in a different style, and that original artist is getting paid. Now, what are they getting paid? Is it fractions of a penny like in Spotify? I'm not really sure, but I do like the idea that they're doing this, and I hope they do partner with more major labels. Udio did something similar. It wasn't WMG. I can't remember who they worked with. But in Udio's case, they actually did say like, hey, you need to come in and download your songs because they may go away. So theirs was a little bit more consequential, where I had to go in there and just make sure I had downloaded versions, and they were all up and up about it, about, hey, you have up until this date to go do this, blah, blah, blah. So look, these AI music makers are changing. I talked last week about, I had some fun with Suno and I was explaining that. Since then, and I'm not about to share more here, but since then I've been working with Udio a lot. In fact, I joked about it in the newsletter that came out yesterday, and I was like, I might have a problem because I've gone down the rabbit hole on Suno, and it's become way too fun for me. And I look forward to spending way more of my time just poking and prodding around in there and having fun, and creating music and stuff. I find it so much fun, and it's so good these days. So anyway, I've said this, I'll say this again. If you're thinking about Suno, a 1-2 shot of Gemini plus Suno is very powerful. Gemini for lyrics, and also writing the persona styles. So you just tell Gemini the style and type of song you want and tell it you want to do it for Suno. And then it will write it out in the format so that it's literally a copy and paste back into Suno. So not just the lyrics. What I would suggest is starting with the concept, the style, the persona, having Gemini take care of that so it's easier for you. Because there's a lot of intricacies, right? Like Suno wants things a certain way and certain words mean more and whatever. let Gemini go do the research on that and then come back with the right way to do it, so you don't have to do it. It just gets you going a little bit faster. So anyway, that's going on with Suno and sort of Udio, and I think we'll see more and more of these partnerships with major labels. They're going to kind of have to, in order not to get sued into oblivion, but also, to make it. We'll see if maybe there's a big Sirius XM type merger down the line where Suno and Udio join forces. We'll see what happens. I can see that too.
Right. There was a stat that came out over the weekend that I saw over the weekend that was people generating songs are generating the equivalent of Spotify every 2 weeks.
Say one more time, Beth. I'm sorry, I was reading comments.
People using the music generators are generating the equivalent of Spotify every 2 weeks, and that caught on for me because, wow, like even if 10% of that is good, it's still like okay. Where this is definitely a scale that where none of the systems that I listen through music through are prepared for that much influx in terms of scale.
It's kind of like YouTube, right? Just like the volume of stuff that's uploaded to YouTube on a day, and then having the data centers in the background to be able to pull that off. Can you imagine how many songs are being uploaded and what percentage of those are AI to Spotify?
Yeah.
I mean, I was in Reddits and stuff like that to get answers about how to use Suno and just learning and stuff. And there was tons of people who were like, oh, I upload an album a day or something like that to Spotify. And I guess there's whatever the reasons are for that. But man, is that a lot of content.
Yep. And and for me, it seems like it's pulling the human interaction back another layer. It's going to be too much. Now I'm going to have my agent listen to music for me and do that sort, so that then I'm only listening to a certain percentage. Or, as we were talking this weekend, I don't know, is anyone listening to music, actual new music, or are we all just listening to the stuff that we decided we loved when we were in high school, college, and a little bit after, and now we're just trying to do that sound over and over and over again?
Well, look, that's a bigger conversation. We definitely have time for it. Maybe it's a good AA conversation, because what you're saying, Beth, is like what I see too, just when having a teenager. And I'm not here to knock on it, but like, oh, well, they don't listen to the full side A and side B of Pump by Aerosmith. I mean, like, I have memories of that. I know that the first song on side B was "Take Me to the Other Side," which I always thought was well played by Aerosmith. That means something to me. I like to read the linear notes. My daughter knows choruses and clips based on TikTok and social media, and not that to say she doesn't love songs or know lyrics. Like, she sings in the car the songs I've never heard of or do not know the lyrics to all the time. So certainly it's getting to her, but like, that path is really, really interesting. And you're right, Beth. Like, there was this is the last thing I'll say on the news side was actually from Spotify. Spotify has been getting flack for a long time because their shuffle algorithm isn't a true shuffle. It's not. It's a curated shuffle. It's what Spotify thinks you want to hear. So people get really upset about it because they're like, yeah, your shuffle just means I hear the same. If I have 100 songs on a list, I hear the same damn 20 songs. I want a shuffle. Spotify has just come out and said they're going to fix that. We'll see, but it seems like such an easy thing. But it's like, this is where AI gets in its own way. It's, and if you pay enough to Spotify from one of the music catalogs, do you get to influence the algorithm of shuffle? That would be my thought. Yes,
that's shuffle. Happening. It's Google results 4 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, that's my assumption. This is speculation. I have no inside information on Spotify, so don't come for me.
Anyway, that was way more news. News in the music side of things, but those are all sort of things going on. I find it endlessly fascinating. So, and Karl, I know you joined us and we asked you about the memory thing, but do you have any quick news stories? I mean, we talked about R1 already. We talked about, but add in if you like there. And then, just a few other things real quick.
Just one, so Runway, model we haven't talked about in a very long time, a video model, just released their new Frontier model. And according to some benchmarks that they put out, it looks significantly higher. I don't know how much higher, but it's higher on artificial analysis text to video. So I'm curious to see. And when you look at the demo reel, it looks pretty good on what so on their X post, it excels at understanding executing complex sequence instructions. You can specify detailed camera choreography, intricate scene compositions, precise timing of events, subtle atmospheric changes, all in a single prompt, which is quite amazing, especially if it doesn't have sound, I don't think. But it says here that it's unprecedented level of physical accuracy and visual precision. Objects move with realistic weight and momentum. Surfaces behave the way they should in real world. Laws of physics can be both observed and ignored depending on your vision. Blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so interesting here, developed entirely on NVIDIA's GPUs across initial R&D, pre-training, post-training, and inference. So heavily, we collaborated extensively with NVIDIA to push the boundaries of what's possible. So it's interesting because what they're saying is, I don't know when it will come out because I don't think I've renewed my runway license. So it'd be interesting to see what this looks like and if there's free tests for it. So, and I feel like we'll hear from some of the major players we haven't heard in the video space in a while, right? Like Pika, we haven't heard for a bit. I do know I've been using Kling 2.5 for demos, and its instruction following is so much better than Gemini's instruction following. I can actually get it to do very, very unique things from camera angles, dollies, cranes in combination versus Gemini, which is still a little off. So very interested to see how Runway goes about it. And I know a couple of we have a partner out in Comox on the island who does a lot of AI video work, and I think they would be very, very excited about this because they combine real, like how they edit plus AI, and they bring some things like the combination of the two is outstanding. So that's what I could say. But yeah, that would be the only news that I can think of today.
Yeah, it was interesting for me because it seemed like the announcement said Runway just came out with the model and it's better than Google and OpenAI's video models. And Google's video model is much better than OpenAI's video model in some ways. And I'm not sure that anyone would say that those are the top ones in all of video. Like it didn't mention seed dance or yeah, I'm not going to come up with all those combinations right now, but it seemed like those models that it was just picking those two, and that seemed like a weird off note for me.
So double A Ron 11 was asking Midjourney or Runway want to make commercials for work. I would say you obviously Runway, I think just announced today. I would definitely look at Kling first. Kling Turbo 2.1. VO3 3.1 is pretty good as well. It's just from an instruction following side, I find Kling really, really good. You may want to obviously you want to wait if Midjourney is announcing. I think in the comment thread, Midjourney may be announcing something this week. I'm not sure. You may want to wait again for Runway the next couple of days, see if you can get like the access, pay a couple to see the credits if you're actually creating commercials. Yeah.
And there's a huge difference in price, right? Kling 2.5 is significantly less than VO. Is that right?
Yes, but what I would do is actually go get a subscription to Higgsfield because they have all of them there.
Yes.
And try it. Just like, oh, do this. Yeah.
Sorry. The other thing about Higgsfield is that you can buy one of the lower subscriptions and then pay for credits in the
Yes.
month that you need to use
Yeah.
more. It's way
Just
more
to test.
expensive to do the credits, but for my use anyway, unless you're using this stuff as like a video generator
Yeah.
person, you're likely having like a high month and a low month, and it'll come out sort of even. Is my
Yeah, and I think like a Higgsfield is good to test it out. And if you like, oh, I dial in, let's say I like WAN type videos or seed dance
yes.
type videos, then go with seed dance going forward. But keep the Higgsfield subscription, because when things change, they usually come out with the stuff very quickly. And they add it into so you can test. And the way, like, I like how Higgsfield sets it up, because you can test so fast. You're like, this prompt, like 5 different video models. You can just like switch, and then you can see the generation. You're like, oh, okay, that was pretty good. Whatever that is. So definitely worth as a testing ground, and then whatever your workflow is, go from there.
Nice. So Brian has gone. Does anyone have more news stories?
Yes. Let's talk about ads coming to ChatGPT, coming soon. So this is in this progression in the consumer public primarily, which is where you're going to monetize these things. In the consumer public, there's a lot of people who are in dialogue with ChatGPT on a daily basis. They're talking to AI. And that's going to become the first thing that people do out of habit before they navigate to a website to look at anything, if they're buying something or they're trying to consider a service offering, whatever. And so when chat and conversation, and particularly voice, become the main model by which you interact with the web, what happens then to advertising? So we've talked about this at length, which is, does this challenge the fundamentals of AdWords and keyword search? And, I see this thing happening where instead of, having search keywords, like you go to Google into the search box and you type in a short phrase that has the key terms that you want it to provide responses relevant to. Instead, you're having a sort of a rambling conversation with ChatGPT, and it's using that prompt as those user inputs, I should say, rather than as sort of a packaged prompt. So those user inputs in the conversation, it's using those as the context for presenting sponsored placements. Okay, so this is what ChatGPT has to, figure out as they deliver ads in the context of ChatGPT conversations with their users. But they're doing that, right? And so the main performance channel for advertisers will be, how do I get my ad to be a part of this conversation, and do it in a way that maintains some level of neutrality on behalf of the assistant who's making these responses, and presenting somehow a relevant sponsored ad that is part of the conversation now. So anyway, it's a very interesting thing. I'm curious about how it will look. Perplexity, as you know, was very early on in trying to implement Perplexity shopping. And, they had difficulties at the outset just because the transaction management of actually, creating the cart and, closing out the cart interactively through that Perplexity interface wasn't very reliable. But those things are, getting fixed, and Google has offered, shopping closure based on AI conversations. But now ChatGPT is coming out with something, and ChatGPT, I think, has demonstrated an ability to conceive and deliver new models of user experience design that really work. And so I'm
Ooh.
curious and excited to see what ads look like in ChatGPT. And I think we're going to see those before Christmas, right? We're going to see those coming out.
Oh.
And then the big question is, how do you present a sponsored ad and also, label that and make it unobtrusive, and at the same time make it feel like, your assistant isn't being seconded by its commercial intent.
Okay, if
And
that's what
is it for
Shipmas is
paid
about, that will be a big bummer. Ooh, for Shipmas, we give you ads.
Well, it depends on who, like are they giving it, is that the deal for all free users, they get ad content, or do paid users get ad content? Like, who gets ad content, who does not get ad content? Who gets the ability to turn it on or off? Because I know I turn all of it off. I don't, like, I specifically, which is insane, but I pay YouTube Premium to not see anything. Like, I do not want to see anything. So, which is fantastic. And I'm hoping in the pro account, I don't see anything. Because the last thing I want to see is like things that I don't want to see, because I'm trying to do work and I'm like, this is just taking up more real estate that I'm trying to actually execute on. So I'm curious to see from that end, where, like, who gets it, who doesn't, and can you turn it off? If you're a Plus user, can you turn it off?
Yeah.
Can you turn it off?
They don't really treat Plus users like, they treat Plus users like you've opted in to pay $20 to get early access to test their stuff for them. They don't treat us like they treat you, Karl. Which is why we
don't
get
know.
stuff
Yeah,
before you
I
sometimes.
gotta say, I don't feel very special as a Plus user.
Like when we get it before Pro, that's why. Right? Like we're not gonna give it to Pro until we're confident that it works. But Plus, yeah, go hog wild. And then we break it, and they cut everybody way back because, oh, this is surprising to us, like it is every freaking time we release something over the last 3 years, which is then keying up the next thing. Andy, I will say that when Perplexity started to add ads in, and they tried it and they don't do it very much anymore, but it was really shocking to me because I often, I used to talk to Perplexity while I was commuting in the car, right? So the Perplexity visual of the voice is like orange dust, right? Like it sort of goes, it does an animation of orange dust that you're looking at. And it would know where I was in the car in relation to the city and pop up a map saying, would you like to stop by at something that I'd asked about? And I was like, no, give me the orange dust back. Like, what are you? It was so jarring in that way. They don't do it very much anymore, as far as I can tell. But I also don't do that kind of voice with Perplexity as much anymore. So cool. Here we go. Andy, do you have another?
I do. I want to talk about research that was just published by NVIDIA and the University of Hong Kong about smarter orchestration using smaller models, but coupling that with orchestration technology using a smaller model, matching and in some cases exceeding the frontier models that are packaged as a single monolith. So they developed a term of art in this area called tool orchestra. So this tool orchestra method trains an orchestrator model that decides when to reason internally and when to call specialized tools and models. That's what orchestration is all about. Like, you can imagine an N8N, orchestration process where there's an agent that actually calls which tools it's going to use. Well, this is creating a model that's trained to do this very, very well. So an 8 billion parameter model trained with that system surpassed GPT-5 and Claude Opus 4.1 on humanity's last exam. So that's a pretty good accomplishment. I'm not comparing it to GPT 5.1 or Opus 4.5. This happens to have been, done. The research was done before the release of those models. So who knows whether those models would be a little bit better on humanity's last exam. But it scored above GPT-5 and Claude Opus 4.1 while being 2.5 times faster and more efficient. Like the orchestration process does something better than large model inference. Okay. So even when they used unseen tools it's not familiar with, the orchestrator adapted to that well, showing that it can work with changing tool sets and be kind of exploratory or discover new tools to use. And so tool orchestra is this new approach. It's a new old approach. Like we've seen this emerging, I think, but of taking smaller, dedicated models in a strapped architecture that puts them all together with a commander, right? This orchestrator, the tool orchestrator. And when you do that, you get faster, more efficient, and smarter results than you do with even the then most advanced frontier models.
Very cool.
Oh, so Andy, one thing that I was thinking about on this is when you talk about orchestrator, I was thinking about a couple times now we've used for and we prototyped using Claude code in a non-coding way to do like a workflow or a process, right?
Yeah.
And we've been using swarms, but the one thing that has improved the swarm is having an orchestrator on top of it. So when I used to try to do it, like just have the swarms run, do it, okay, it's fine. Like it's actually more than fun. It's exciting, it's amazing. But then when I'm like, hey, can I have it usually asks me, do you want like an agent running this thing? And I usually say no, because I'm kind of like, I want to control the agents because I don't know what the orchestrator is going to do. So let me do it. But then after we dial in the process, I then go, hey, can I now add an orchestrator agent because you understand this whole process? Yes. And once that orchestrator is on top, the thing goes so much faster. Like I would say 5 times faster than me. And I'm not doing anything. I don't know. I'm just telling it to do stuff. But because it can handle all the edge cases we've worked through, then it's like it just sits on top. So I'm thinking like, and that's just Claude code. I'm thinking for a lot of different use cases, if you've dialed in your process, and this is a working theory, could you then put an orchestrator on top of said process? I don't know how you do it in just large language model systems, but do an orchestrator on top. I have a feeling it'll probably get your work done faster. You can apply this concept, right? In different use cases. I just don't know how you would apply it right now.
Well,
particularly
go ahead, if you're like kind of specialized in your service, and so basically you have this sort of basic template that you tweak a little bit each time, right? With an orchestrator, knowing what the tweak should be, that could almost be like cookie cutter.
Yes. Because it's faster.
I'm throwing up this comment from Gareth about Andrei Karpathy, just posted in this past several days about an LLM council that he created. And it's a similar notion, right? You have a group of LLMs, smaller ones, not necessarily, although he might be using full scale, frontier models as part of his council, but having them setting them up in such a way that they can talk to each other and are directed to communicate with each other is really important. So let me just also reflect back to a couple of years ago when some small startup, or I think it was maybe a university, Utah, if I'm recalling correctly, set up a company of multiple models where one was the CEO, one was the CMO, one was the CTO, and they all were arranged in such a way that they could speak to each other, but they had narrowly defined roles and skill sets and tools. And the presence of the CEO, who I will argue is the orchestrator in this case, was important to the optimum functioning of this startup that actually did, a very credible job of conceiving, developing, and launching a product, at least in this simulation. So yeah, I think the model that we're talking about here, this tool orchestra, and having the ability to easily train and develop an orchestrator for a workflow, Karl, as you were describing, is the way to do it. And I can't right at the moment say, like, where would I start if I wanted to set such a thing up? But I know, Karl, you'll do that. So you do that, and then you tell us how to do it, and I'll feel a lot better about it.
Well, the one thing that we're thinking about, so one group asked us, and I don't know what's going to go out of it. So in the past, we've been asked, okay, here's a set of thousands of images. Can you apply metadata to it? And all the knowledge I have about AI visual tools, it's like, yeah, you can. And there's some things that can do it kind of well. But now my confidence with Gemini 3 is much higher. So it's like, oh, well, we could kind of set up the same thing where I'd do it in Claude Code, but I'd have Claude use the Gemini API. So essentially swarm it and then apply it. But then I'd put an orchestrator on top of it. But the question is, do I put the orchestrator, is it Opus 4.5, or do I use the Gemini API to run it? I'm not sure. Like, that's the thing, is like, I think we're getting to the point, if you know all the AI potential capabilities, you have so many tools in your toolbox now to solve problems in different ways. And those ways aren't wrong or right. It's just the way that you did it. So it's like, oh, you could do it this way with this tool, but you could also do it with this tool. So it'll be definitely interesting to see.
Which reinforces this idea that I think Nate Jones has put forward recently, which is, you need to be multi-model in your, not multimodal, but multi-model in your approach, and understand which models do things well. And he did a nice comparison between Opus 4.5 and Gemini 3.0 and Claude. He also did another one about Claude Codex versus, I'm not Claude Codex, GPT-5 Codex and Claude Code, and you see where the differences are. And then what that asks is, how do you put these things together? For example, can I do this with gems? Can I have gems? Like, I know that you can call in ChatGPT, in custom GPTs within OpenAI, you can have a custom GPT call another GPT. So you could create a council of custom GPTs and have them interact, but you'd have to be managing the dialogue in one of those in order to call the others into it. And that's just a session bound kind of approach. Can I do it? Do gems make this easier to accomplish, to create a council?
No.
And Beth, you're shaking your head no. Explain why.
No, because gems isn't going to go outside the models of Google, right? But I keep going back to Typing Mind, which is buy once, have the lifetime subscription to the service, because Typing Mind, you use your own APIs, but it has things like named GPTs. They call them agents because of course they do. But they called them agents before agents was the thing. But that you can at them in different conversations. And so you could actually at a model with a specific model with specific instructions that you had like built into that. And now you're calling in Gemini 3.0, or you're calling in the vision model that's associated with that.
Okay, so Typing Mind is one possibility. Karl, what do you think is the best framework to become an orchestration platform if you want to build a multi-model, multi-small agent orchestra.
That's so hard because there's a lot of companies that have built the ability to, like, for example, sim theory, right? I don't know if you all listen
I don't
to
know that.
I forgot what is the podcast. You know what, I keep thinking
It's like last week on AI, yesterday on AI, every day on
something
AI. It's something like
something
that,
about that. Hold on, I'm trying to pick it out. It's a red screen here.
which
Oh,
is
it's
how I know.
this day in AI, because it's like the daily AI show. I get confused. It's like, so it's this day in AI. It's two dudes from, I think, Australia, maybe New Zealand.
That's
I don't
right.
know.
That's right.
They have a thing called sim theory where they use all the models, right? You can try out all the models, visual too. So I think that would be something, if they could build something on top of it where you can test out. I think they would be best set up to do that, something like that. If you've ever used sim theory, then if they can build out a way that you can test agentic flows in that, then I think that would do it. Something like that. That's how I would. That's where my thinking goes. Or you could try it in honestly, you can try it in Claude Code or Anti Gravity. Like, I know it may seem a little like daunting for a lot of people, but if you actually get it, cursor Claude Code and then just say, hey, instead, I want you to do a test multimodal orchestration. It'll just do it for you, and you can just talk through it.
Yeah.
And with Opus 4.5,
Yeah. I
so
believe.
use Opus
Yeah.
4.5
So
will
this
burn
this
your.
weekend, just yesterday, I spent about an hour setting up anti-gravity and starting the process of building something in anti-gravity.
Oh,
I outside of anti-gravity
yeah.
in GPT 5.1 codex, I had built an extensive PRD for a project that I want to work on. And so I gave that information as markdown files to anti-gravity and had it craft its own MVP PRD and then, initiate the development of it. And so I can imagine giving it a description in working with another model outside, creating a description for this orchestra that I want, and then asking anti-gravity to do it. And I think Claude Code could do the very same thing. That's my next little project. I think I'm going to make good progress with anti-gravity. I'm now going to do the very same thing in Claude Code and be able to compare and contrast those two. So yeah, I think that's right. I think Claude Code or anti-gravity would be the right places. Those are real development platforms, and you would want to develop your own interactive model application that is the
Right.
orchestra.
And the LLM Council, which was on my list today too. I hope we talk about it later in the week because it seems very, very cool. Karpathy is using Open Router because you can then just switch
Mhm.
the models within that, right? It gives you access as long as you have the credits.
But I got to believe that he's coding it all himself. He doesn't.
Oh,
He doesn't. He might use. He might use. An IDE outside of the thing, but who knows? I think he's probably just working internal.
well, he said like I vibe coded this weekend, and I'm like, what does vibe code mean to you?
Yeah. Yeah. He was vibing the whole way, and he
I
was
was
coding the
vibing while
whole
I
way.
was
Yeah. Right.
coding,
Yeah.
right? But is he credited with the phrase? Did he create the phrase of
I
vibe
think
coding?
that's true. I think
Mhm.
that's true.
All right. Well,
Right.
this is amazing. So happy birthday to ChatGPT 3 years ago yesterday. Definitely changed all our lives. And if we go back to our very first episode, that's what we talked about. How are you using ChatGPT? We hope that everyone is having a good week. We've got a great list of shows coming up for you. And Gareth, yes, in my
Yeah.
experience, Jen.
Always
Okay.
always love to see a citation about GenSpark because it's my go-to for my everyday, non-coding work. I haven't delved into using their own coding agent, but I use it for everything else pretty much.
So if you're listening, the comment that Gareth made is, in my experience, GenSpark has the orchestration close to figured out. So GenSpark may be a thing. I don't know if they have a deal, but it is Cyber Monday. So if you don't subscribe to GenSpark, like I do not, I should go and look. Yeah, my vocabulary tokens are running out. So we're going to close the show, everybody. Thank you very much for hanging out with us. Brian left with his end stream, so we're going to figure out how this is happening. I'm going to leave you with Andy for a couple minutes and see if I get an end stream afterwards. All right, Andy, take over the show. I'm going to close.
All right.